I don't want to hear that, man. Look, do you want to hoop or not? I don't hear none of the other contenders complain. I don't hear Evan complaining. He's saying check ball. I don't hear LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard complaining. I don't hear Jason Tatum and Giannis complaining. The Raptors been down there for 2 weeks in Florida, and all they talking about is how they going to try to defend their championship. I don't see them complaining. By the way, they got a tournament that's going on right now, a TBT tournament in Cleveland, Ohio, and I'm pretty sure those guys are not going to be in a billion-dollar bubble, or they not in a great situation. They not complaining. They down there hooping. So I don't want to hear all that. To me, this is just an excuse. They get knocked out. This is going to be an excuse because their superstar was halfway in.
That was Kendrick Perkins, and he was completely asinine with his comments. By the way, Jason Tatum was complaining. He was one of the guys who said, I don't feel safe going. So with that, because he mentioned Tatum by name, it sounds like Perkins was targeting Embiid for whatever reason and saying, like, this is an excuse. Hello? You think that Embiid is the only guy who, by the way, got onto the plane today wearing like a hazmat suit? You think Embiid's the only guy who has reservations about living in this bubble and the safety down there?
Absolutely not. And just because maybe other players aren't as outspoken about it, that doesn't mean that they don't have concerns. We know LeBron is a big family man. You don't think that there's something in his brain that thinks, I hope my family's going to be okay throughout this time. Like, of course, right? I mean, that's just silly to think that just because these guys maybe didn't state it like Joel Embiid did, that means that they're totally okay.
How about
100%.
This? Here's a guy, I don't know if you would say that he's a bigger star than Embiid, but I think he's right up there with all the other guys. Dame Lillard, he didn't sound like he was too thrilled about going down there and playing. In other words, he was like, look, if it's not worth it, I'm not going.
Which is interesting because he was the one that wanted an opportunity to compete for the playoffs. So
he was saying, if we don't have a chance to make the playoffs or whatever, I'm not going down there just to play rando games.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Let's bring Darryl Reynolds in. D-Ray on the NBA. Darryl Reynolds, a member of the 2016 national champion Villanova Wildcats. He joins us each Thursday to talk some NBA. And I don't know, D-Ray, do you think it's fair to call out Joel Embiid because he expressed some concern about playing in Orlando?
Not at all. Me and Bros talked about this morning on Process. Like, it's that's not fair at all. But it's Kendrick Perkins, and I'm convinced that Kendrick Perkins at this point is just okay with being the antagonist. Like y'all were just saying, many of the players have said, like, listen, I don't necessarily feel comfortable with it. That doesn't mean I'm not going, but I got to be honest, it doesn't feel like the safest thing. But for him to target Joel Embiid is kind of, I ain't going to say it's low-hanging fruit because, Joel runs his mouth too, but it's like, come on, man. Like, are you serious?
Right, and with that, I don't know. He didn't seem very enthusiastic about the, bubble at all. Does that concern you in talking about what kind of mental state he will be in once the games start? Or, I look at it as once the games begin, the normalcy kind of kicks in. But up until that point, are you concerned that Joel maybe isn't 100% there?
Yeah, definitely. Having that in the back of your mind of just kind of worrying about it. Let's say we talked about it this morning as well. Like, you would hope that after he kind of gets in the groove, that once he gets comfortable and he sees things are being handled the right way, and it's like, all right, I can really focus on basketball. But, you got 100% focus, and if even 2% of that is scared of corona or something like that, that takes away from the game. So hopefully after a couple of days or before they even really start, he gets to a point where he's really, truly comfortable and he's just in a rhythm with his game. That's all he's worrying about. But it definitely does take away from your focus, and it's a health issue. It should. It's something big.
I do like the fact that Joel Embiid does talk about Ben Simmons in terms of, taking that next step in his game. And he did say that they need Ben Simmons, and he also stated that he will create space for Ben. And what I initially think when I hear that is, here goes Joel Embiid by the perimeter, and that's going to make people upset. But do you think that maybe there's another way outside of just hanging out by the perimeter that maybe that can create space for Ben Simmons, who we all know won't take a jump shot?
Absolutely. And it's one of the issues of him not being in shape. I think he'd be a great screen setter, a great pick and pop big man. You know what I mean? Like, he would be somebody who, kind of what Al Horford did for Boston, we tried to get Al Horford to do earlier this season. Like, he would be a great guy. Can you imagine a guard? You got to go up against those screens constantly, and you don't know if he's going to roll, if, Ben kind of flails out, or if he goes to the basket, you don't know if he's going to pop and always have that three behind him. Like, that's scary. But that's something that comes in question with his shape and can he do it constantly on the floor and things like that. And that's a rabbit hole that I really don't like going down. But I absolutely think they can find a way to make sure that Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid on the floor at the same time, despite the fact that Ben Simmons doesn't want to shoot.
Now, you mentioned Horford. Do you think that the Sixers use him the right way? I mean, I look at Horford when he played with Boston and what he did against the Sixers, and he would kill them with that pick and pop, top of the key. I feel like they never run that for him.
Yeah, that is weird. I was expecting a couple more inside screens, one where he's setting it, Ben Simmons is kind of getting downhill to his left, and he, like you said, pick and pops back to that middle of the lane type of area. I guess you would say that between the two lane lines extended out to the three-point. Like, that seems to be where he's the most comfortable with that three. That seems to be the easiest for him to knock down. But that's on Brett. You know what I mean? That's on Brett. I cannot sit here and give him a pass on everything. I love Brett Brown. I love the way he coaches, but things like that that's a coach's job to figure out.
Right, because it seems like the Sixers almost envisioned him as some sort of stretch four where he's shooting corner threes and wing threes as opposed to how Boston used him in more of a straight-on three, elbow jumpers, and baseline stuff.
Yeah, they don't need to reinvent the wheel. A player as old as Al Horford is, and not that he's old, but you know what I'm saying, like, as far as the game goes, as far as the league goes, he's been in it long enough. You kind of know what you're going to get out of him as far as the skill set goes. So those corner and wing ones, that helps if he makes them, but like you said, it's the top of the key. That's where he seems the most comfortable at, and that's on Brett to make sure that he gets those off. But I'm not a coach. You know what I mean? I'm somebody talking hoops with y'all right now. I'm not a coach. If I was, that'd be one of the first things I changed up.
All right. How about this? Joel Embiid says that he needs to be more assertive, and at times he was just going through the motions on offense. I feel like I've heard this 5 or 6 times already. Like, at what point is it, just do it? Just do it. I feel like I've heard him say, I just went through the motions on offense too many times at this point. Just go out and do it. Do you feel the same way or differently?
No, absolutely. I mean, first of all, he's killing himself with the damn comments. Like, they need to talk to PR or somebody to kind of get him to ring a couple of these comments back in. Because the last thing you want to hear, from a guy who you're criticizing about not being in a certain amount of shape or not giving a certain amount of effort is for them to then admit, I was going through the motions. It's at a point with the Sixers as a whole, from Brett Brown to Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid to the front office. It's at a point where it's put up or shut up. You know what I mean? It's not, nobody's interested in the propaganda or the right thing to be said because there is nothing else to be said. At this point, it's really about what they go down there and do. And I'm excited in one way because I feel like they're talking this much to kind of not only rile themselves up, but also make sure they're held to a certain standard. But it also worries me when he says things like, I was going through the motion. It's like, bro, so you knew this was a problem. But we're here now. You know what I mean? If he's been working out 6 times a week like he says he's been, and, he's really going as hard as he says he's been going, he has a clear mind when he gets down there. I got to feel a lot of us about to be proved wrong, which being on that side, I wouldn't be mad at it all. But it's time I see it. You know what I mean?
I'm excited for this team, no doubt, but I will say there's a little bit inside of me that is concerned with, and it's okay for them to feel this way, but I am a little concerned with their mentality going in because, as we heard, Embiid said that he didn't really feel right about it. Shake Milton said that there are some other issues going on in this world that is more important, which I totally do agree with. Mike Scott, same type of vibe. So, they're okay to feel that way. I'm not knocking them for feeling like there's more than just basketball because I totally understand. But once they are down there, they are going to have to compete, and I wonder maybe it's not just one guy. It's a good amount of this team. Are they going to be in the right mindset as a team?
Man, I hope so. It's really a situation where it's like you feel how you feel before you go. Once you touch down on that plane and once you get off of it and walk into that arena and start things, like that's the decision has to be made at that point. And once they get down there, I really hope they understand that the only way they're going to make any type of push is all of them are on the same page. To go back to Brett Brown, that's something I have faith in him on making sure it happens as far as like making sure these group of guys are on the same page. But I really hope it's not a thing where we're hearing stories the day before, they have their first game or the day before the playoffs start. It's just like once they go down there, if you decide to go down there, you knew what you were getting into. At that point, you just let it be what it is. You play the game. But I'm not going to lie, I'm worried, too, between, the difference in views and stuff like that, but that's what the team is. You know what I mean? Everybody kind of has to put aside certain views, I guess the best way to put it, to make sure that the team is good. And if they're going, then I have to have faith that they're going to figure it out.
Darryl Reynolds with us talking a little NBA. Sixers are on the flight. I don't know if you saw the video of Joel Embiid, but he's got like a hazmat suit on. He's got gloves, mask. I mean, he is – I don't know if he's just playing the role or what, but he's obviously taking extra precautions down there as they're getting ready to go down. They'll play 3 scrimmage games and then the 8 regular season games. Let me ask you, how important do you think the 8 games are to this particular team?
Oh, my God. I think it's a world of difference. Because obviously they're set for the playoffs, but the way the season ended, it was kind of rocky. I feel like these 8 games are going to allow them to get their foot in the right, allow them to kind of figure out who's doing what moving forward. Because let's be honest, everybody's been separated for months at this point. And although it seems like it will be simple, they would just hop back on the court and get back into a rhythm. That's never how it happens. You know what I mean? So I think these 8 games are pretty much going to set the tone for what they're going to be, because I can't imagine with everything else going on, these playoffs start and somebody really turns the page. I feel like these 8 games are really going to give us a kind of insight of how they're going to look throughout the rest of the playoffs.
Furkan Korkmaz also spoke to the media, and he said that Brett told him he's going to have an important role on this team. How do you think he's going to be able to fit in terms of defense? I just questioned the defense.
The defense is definitely a concern with him, and I couldn't imagine that, being something that turned a huge page over these last couple months, maybe by watching film and being able to really digest. Like, I don't think that a lot of people out there understand the importance of film. That's why that Jimmy Butler thing was so crazy when he said that they, how they deal with film as a team of the Sixers. Like, it is so important, especially for younger players, to watch film and kind of see where they messed up. So I'm hoping he kind of did that, and through that he can step out there at a different level. But he ain't going to go out there and be Bruce Bowen. You know what I mean? Let's call it what it is. It's just he's not going to make – he's not going to make that big of a jump. But if he gets a little bit better and he's still able to shoot at a great clip, him stretching the floor is going to be great. So maybe the offensive trade-off is worth it on what you're losing from him on defense.
We will end with this. I have on white socks and white LeBrons. Gil is anti. I saw him looking at them when I walked in. You just got to set it straight here. Let him know that white on white is totally acceptable.
White on white with the socks is totally acceptable.
Well, with those sneaks, he had the high top sneaks. The last time he wore them with the cross trainers.
I wore them with Nike Roches.
Yeah, that's no good. Now let me ask you, D-Ray. Do you buy the T-shirt from the guy on the street, the knockoff?
Yeah, I buy knockoff T-shirts, D-Ray. When I go to games, Phillies games, there's a guy on the side. Hey, $10. Yeah, I'll give you $10. I'll buy a Phillies tee. Is that ridiculous?
Yeah, we got a split difference on this one.
What?
I'm with Gil on this one. I'm not buying no Whitney Houston T-shirt to say Whit Hutton. So
well, I didn't go down that road. Now, come on.
That's why I don't trust the knockoffs. You get in the game and you open it up and it's like this is Ben Roethlisberger. This ain't Ben Simmons.
Yeah, I mean the guy's jersey yesterday, instead of saying Phillies, it just said Philly on it. I mean, it said Bash Brothers. That name has never been used for Hoskins and Harper. I looked at that T-shirt. I said, "Where'd you get that thing?" Oh, the guy on the street. I was like, "Well, that's your problem. You don't get the T-shirt from the guy on the street." Unbelievable.
I'll have to teach you guys style.
By the way, the Sixers on the plane. They are heading down to Orlando and getting ready for the Orlando bubble. We'll have more with D-Ray, Darryl Reynolds, of course, a member of the 2016 national champion Villanova Wildcats. We'll be talking hoops with him each Thursday as the NBA is close to returning. Thanks, pal.
All right, fellas. I'll talk to y'all.
Eli Gaugas appeared via the Boardwalk on the Hotline. He's also the host of the Process Podcast, talking Sixers with Hunter Brody.